Okay, so here we go. Here we go. 12 o'clock. No,
Over
2
2
o'clock.
o'clock.
12 2. It's 2 o'clock, 12 o'clock somewhere. California is probably 11 o'clock. Anyway, so special announcement number one. This is an important thing because a lot of people, they give me compliments and have given me compliments throughout the years, and I really appreciate them, but I don't think I could do. I don't think I did anything nobody else couldn't do. In other words, I get compliments about techniques and tournaments and events that pretty much skill set. But realistically, I can honestly say that whoever learns how to do the techniques, they can do it too. So my commitment has now gone away from me personally. Bottom line, I don't want to die with the information. We flew down to Florida a few weeks ago, and I'm going back next week to record some more. You saw a little bit of it today, at least that one video. What did you think about it?
Straight to the point, sharp as ever, you know. And it was even covering some other things that we didn't even have on some of the other videos.
So what's happening is that I found a video from 2014 when I was attempting to do exactly what we're going to do now. We're going to actually pull it off. So throughout the years, I've been trying to get sport karate back to the heyday. And the heyday was 1985 and below. I would probably have to say between 1970, I'm going to give it a year or two. Let's say from 1975 to 1985, those 10 years are probably the best quality techniques that I ever saw. Because in the 1960s, they didn't move enough. It was just standing there, they didn't have equipment. In the 1970s, depending on who it was, what region, not too much movement was being done either. But then when we started learning how to do the footworks, the fakes, the repositions, the angles, the blitzes, the dive bombs, so you had the speed, but you also had the quality of movement. In other words, it wasn't sloppy. Like somebody asked me about what I think about World Combat or the combat, karate combat. I said, it looks sloppy to me. I mean, because when people think about they're going to get hit hard, all of a sudden they forget the quality of the technique now. Now they start to just throw punches. And that was the case with the original days of kickboxing. Well, yeah. Anytime you think there's a potential of you getting really knocked out, you're not going to be as technical. Yeah. But I don't think that's the case. I think that you should really be as technical. Anyway, bottom line is that sniperfight.com. 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 It's live. This is a website, a members-only website that I will make it into an app sooner than later. And it's for the purpose of you being able to train. Now, let's say you train alone because you just don't have access to somebody else. So what? You're going to have ways to train from laying in your bed, laying on your sofa, grabbing the chair.
Yep.
Now, this is for the 40 up market, 40 and up in terms of the exercises I just mentioned. However, they're the same exercises I teach the young kids too. So sniperfight.com is for anyone who wants to learn how to get better at sparring. It might switch up. I think Sniper Fight's going to have to end up being forms too because they got some people that did some sharp forms. Yeah. Oh my God.
It's great cardio too.
Yeah, you can't lie that you're doing the form. You can be out of shape like I've been for many years and still win based on knowledge. But you can't do a form for 2 minutes making believe you're throwing the kick and the punch and the movement. That's real. So, again, sniperfight.com is, now if you see here, this is a patch for an instructor. Literally, we will have Sniper Fight instructors got this certification throughout the years. All you have to be is a red, brown, and black belt. You don't have to be a black belt. This is the curriculum for sparring that you can implement in your school. And so the instructor's training program is going to be coming in there soon, instructor certification. However, the day that you join, you'll get a Sniper Fight, I'm a Sniper Fighter t-shirt that has this logo here on it. And you're going to get the official Sniper Fight U-Man patch. See, the Unified Martial Arts Network is where sniper fighting, in terms of competition, sniper fighting forms and weapons is going to happen. The first tournament this is announcement number 2. Bring September 20th in the LPAC at the Boogie Down Bronx. You get the address. It's 170th in Jerome Avenue, and LPAC is the location. And I'm excited because September 20th. Now, September 21st, there's a tournament in Crane, and September 27th, there's a tournament over in there's a Crane tournament in Rhode Island, I should say, Rhode Island, which is Region 12, and there's a tournament, what would be Region 6 already, in Texas the following week. So I'm throwing it on the 20th to try to now if for some reason somebody has an event during that time, I'm sorry, but we have to launch this thing. The bottom line is, it's time, man. Like it's just time. When I look at the videos, I did a documentary in 1997, and it was about educating people what was happening with the sport karate then. 40 years ago, that's crazy when I think about it. 1985 was 40 years ago. Now, if you want to get technical, it's 39, but 40 years ago, in terms of 85, 2025. Everything changed. If you watch the matches, you would literally see some dangerous techniques. Scary. And it was just point. For example, Ray McCallum versus Scorpion Barrage, which I want to rest in peace to Ray McCallum, one of my top 5 fighters of all time. He passed away just a few weeks ago, and I haven't had a chance to really give him his just due memorial, but I will. Anyhow, getting back to what's the deal. The deal is that most of you never had a chance to really compete to the highest level because once we got older and we had more time, then we were considered just old men. So OGs are older guys and girls. OGs, older guys and girls will be competing. And why I say guys and girls, because we just guys doing their thing, having fun, and girls the same thing. So maybe it's an oxymoron because it's old and guy. Normally that would be an old, old man, not an old guy. And it would be an old woman, not an old girl. But we still have that spirit, enthusiasm, passion, and love. Master Ty, you're going to fight in the youngest division that we have and do forms and what have you. What do you think about that?
I think it's amazing because I always say that I'm 49 years young, so I'm going along with the vibe.
And this is really a movement to get the people. There's 2 groups that we're looking for, guys. We want to motivate the educated and educate the motivated. Now, it is not only for people who are black belts. Again,
Right. That's what I said this
it's
morning.
not only for people who are black belts. It's anyone, the family and friends, the people who always, if you never did martial arts in your life, well, you always wanted to, and you're retired, oh my God, now you don't have an excuse. You got time. And if you have nobody to train with, it doesn't matter. We will be putting over at UMAN, which is a public group, and then a private group. The private group's going to have the nuts and bolts and secrets. But in the private group, you learn how to train at home, alone. A chair, a sofa, a bed is more than enough for you to be doing what will be your training. Now, how about if I tell you this? The majority of the people today, I should say quite a big group of people. By the way, we're in the Boogie Down Bronx where the tournament will be, so you hear the cops doing some activity here, even on a Sunday. But there's a big group of martial arts fighters that fight UFC that have announced that they do not spar during training anymore. And people say, what are you talking about? Well, quite often what happens, why do they cancel fights? Injuries. So quite a few people have gotten injuries. When you and I spar, Master Ty, and we're warming up and we do the left-right drill, and we do the circle drill, it depends on the day. That's enough to not warm us up, right? Almost overheat us. Am I wrong?
Right.
because
does.
it's a real workout. Now, in addition to that, when we start make-believe sparring, yeah, it's like beyond control contact. Remember when you wasn't allowed to hit and you had to pull back and you develop a lot of control?
Focus.
It was difficult, but focus with your hands close, like that, it becomes a technique. So when we start going like this, like we're sparring, and I don't touch you, but you know, you could have got touched. Doesn't it feel like a real match?
It does. It
Now-
make you want to respond and like just get sharper, knowing that you also feeling the cardiovascular effects from just maybe going slow, and that's what I share with some of my classes too. You got to do both, slow and fast.
Hey, Brother Banks over there, let's talk about Banks for a second. What would Banks do? Banks meaning Great Grandmaster Aaron Banks. This isn't the spirit of Great Grandmaster Aaron Banks, who, when I met him and spent a lot of time with him, he was 75. And he said he felt great, you know. He didn't understand how his face was, how gravity was messing up his face, he says. But he said, I feel awesome. And Banks was the greatest, to me, the greatest martial arts promoter of all time, even though he did things that some people didn't agree, like having a man catch a bullet with his teeth, you know. But he said the general public came to see the real martial artist when I got that type of energy. But a little bit, what's the book that you've been reading to me in the last few days? Listen to this.
There's a customer born every minute by P.T. Barnum's Secrets to Business Success. Joe,
Vitale.
sorry.
Yeah, Joe Vitale. No, that's good. That's good. So she's been reading this book to me, and it was so cool. So we do this camera, you can actually see it. It's not, you know, behind. Now, P.T. Barnum, most people think that he made a quote. Thank you, honey. Most people think he made a quote that says a sucker's born every day, but that's never been proven. So they use there's a customer born every minute. You know what I say? There's a black belt born every minute. There's a black belt born every minute. You can become a black belt / champion.
That's right.
Every person alive. Do you know that we were born to be winners? I mean, do you realize that? Let's really think about it. There was millions of potential sperm cells. And there was a big race. And in that big race, you had to be the fastest, the strongest, with the best timing. And you was born. Every single human being that was born is the winner of potential other ones that could have been. There's a winner born every day. And to be a winner is a champion, and a champion is someone that has black belt excellence.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is that I'm happy to say that I have a parent in the school who's in his 50s, who's going to get a chance to compete for the first time in September, and he hasn't even joined the school yet. He's joining this week, I believe.
Wow.
Meaning, here you are, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and please, I'm looking forward to the first centurion.
Woo.
Imagine the first person that does a 4 and they're 100.
Wow. That's powerful.
That's going to be one of these legends. So the reason I had to start this circuit was because I feel like a misplaced dinosaur. When I go to tournaments and these kids are competing, and I don't want to be the old grumpy man, but it's just difficult for me to see something that was so different and acknowledge it as being what it is. I use the analogy of basketball. And in basketball, imagine if in the 1990s they say, oh, all you got to do is hit the rim and get 2 points. How would that be? That would be insane, right? But that's what happened. They started hitting the shoulder, making believe you got a point. Some of my friends even taught people how to make believe you scored. In other words, instead of going forward, they say, just pull it back. Pull it back. Why? I'm like, but it takes less effort to hit the person. Almost hitting the person is harder to do than hit the person. Because to do control and we can't touch, that's hard. Because we have to determine our distance and hope that that person doesn't come and hit us. Now, if you've never really got into competition, when it comes to sport karate, as it was known as and still is, there's a little history behind it. So sport karate, when we mention it, it's not proper terminology according to who owns the rights. Sport Karate is owned by what would be the World Karate Federation, formerly known as WUKO, where they fight in the tournaments. And we don't do that where they hop, and they all do the same thing. That's not what we do. But they label that legally, technically that's called Sport Karate. So based on the IOC, what we do is called kickboxing. And that was petitioned by Mike Anderson, who literally was the founder of Top 10, that became Top 10 Nationals, that became Top 10 Equipment, that's still around to this very day. And he also started what's called WAKO, the WAKO. He started WAKO after the PKA that he started too initially, Professional Karate Association, in 1974, that had the first World Championships, and they had Isaias Dueños, it had Bill Superfoot Wallace, Mike Smith, and Joe Louis being the first world champions. Howard the Flash Jackson got eliminated by Ramon Smith
About Benny
and
the
didn't
Jet.
win. Benny the Jet was not part of that organization, but he was definitely competing. During that time, Benny the Jet was on tour, I believe, or he came out in a documentary called The New Gladiators that was promoted by or financed by Elvis, of all people.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're going to be putting clips and all these things. So that sport karate in itself originally, or they called it point karate, like you score a point in point karate. So when Mike Anderson, after he did the PK event, he wanted to, and it was in this thing was on I should say on ABC. So he wanted to promote it again. And they said, no, you have to develop a grassroots sport. Meaning, in order to be the Olympics, and that was the goal at the time, which we'll talk about how probably that's not the best thing. However, for the Europeans, it might be. Literally, you need 100 countries or something like that. So he had to go develop the grassroots. Before you become a world champion, you should be a regional champion, and then I should say a state champion, and then a regional champion, and then a national champion, and then the world champion. So you can't have just a world championship without having what will be the grassroots. I mean, that's the honest truth. However, this is the thing. When he petitioned Sport Karate, the president of the IOC said, you can't do it. Karate is already in there, that the Japanese petitioned to become a sport. They also had petitioned to become a sport, and they got in judo in the 1960s. So that's the first martial arts. And technically speaking, wrestling is martial arts, fencing is martial arts, boxing is martial arts, and judo. Right. But when you think about, the Asian arts, it would be judo that's actually in the Olympics. And just because judo went into the Olympics doesn't mean that all of us train in judo. I mean, think about it. If the reason why your sport would be mainstream, if it was in the Olympics, then if that was the case when it comes to judo, we all would have been doing judo. I don't even know a judo competitor, as an example, because people keep pushing this narrative that the Olympics is what makes it, legitimate. That's what, at the time, Mike Anderson was doing. So fast forward to today, WAKO now does have, I believe, enough countries to be part of the Olympics, but it's considered, like was told to Mike Anderson that day, why don't you petition kickboxing? Kickboxing. So kickboxing, semi-contact, is what point is on the WAKO. Kickboxing, light contact, that's considered continuous. And then kickboxing, full contact, and then different rules. So that's why WAKO is a kickboxing circuit, but they also have a league, but they also have forms and weapons. And what they've done, what they've done is completely something that I don't even want to talk about presently because it's so far away from what we used to do. So being a competitor, knowing the difference, when I went to tournaments and people were doing dive bombs, which is a technique that goes pretty much in the air, while having their glove extended and hand open, and they gave points for that just because the person moved. Even before they landed, like they want to give a point even before they know the technique is in, to try to save time or keep the energy of the match maybe. I'm not exactly sure why.
You know what I like to happen though? I went to compete down at one of the tournaments with I think it was Crescendo Lamar was throwing Comedic Masters. So when I was competing against Ernest Hyman, I believe for the second time, you was doing actually the ref for the first time. And when I competed again, every time I hit him with an open hand, it was just like a back fist. And they said no, do it with a closed fist.
Oh, great. Okay, so that's the point. So that's why there are enough people right now that know the difference. And those are the people who I'm talking to. And they should be 40 and above.
Yeah, and I had to I did it again.
You had to make an adjustment in order to be able to score.
But it wasn't like I was doing it where I wasn't making contact. I was just so used to opening my hands a lot, you know.
All right, so we're going off to what's considered muscle memory. And that's the reason why you do not want to throw techniques with your hands open like that, because in the street situation, there's a good possibility now that you're going to do the same thing.
And you're not trying to just get a point.
You're not trying to get a point. You're trying to destroy somebody who's trying to destroy you. And that's the whole thing. People just don't understand. Thank you, Eddie, on that feedback. Hopefully you can participate in one capacity or another. Because realistically, us one. If you look at the patch, it actually says us one Army. It says it right there, us one. In other words, now what do you think about this idea about honor and respect being on the patch? Honor and respect, what does that mean? That means that I do not make believe I scored the point.
That's in our creed.
When we're working out, you and I, how often you throw a technique and you're not sure if it was a point, and I go, oh, you got me. Well, I say, that's good enough. You got it.
Yeah.
I don't go, no, you didn't hit me. Now there's times where you've thrown, I think when you're tired, you throw a technique, you said, did I get you? I think you're trying to get a little break in between the breathing there. And then I break it down. No, it did not stop me. Yes, it touched me, but you didn't lock your knee, similar to...
Or your kick, yeah.
Or the kick. That doesn't mean that kick can't have you hurt. Tomorrow will be 5 weeks, and I'm going to press charges on this guy. Or 4 weeks, whatever it is. Because while we were training, I jammed his kick so he didn't lock his knee out. But I ran into the heel, and I still was able to collapse his leg and score on him. If it's a kick and it stops me, I shouldn't be able to collapse your leg. If it's a side kick, rounds is something different, because rounds is a snapping kick. Yeah. Side kick is a thrusting kick. It's supposed to be able to stop you on your tracks. Mm-hmm. So in that side kick, you didn't stop me in my tracks, but you brushed, and I sidestepped it, so it hit me and brushed off. And I jammed your leg and got on top of you. So that's would have been, under our rules, we get the point, meaning I would have got the point. However, that doesn't mean you can't be hurt. Well, if I poke in the eye right now, that's not a technique. That could hurt you. When I look at techniques, right, so
self-defense.
Going back to the quality of the technique, or the history of sport karate. The first tournament was in 1955. It became it was by Robert Trias, and it was the USA, United States Karate Association, which was the USKA. And Trias started a school, I think, in 1943. And I apologize, I remember, but it was in the 1940s in Arizona, of all places. So Robert Trias, who had done military, this is all based on military. And when he came over here to America from the military, he put together his organization. And in 1955, they had the first rules. He wrote the first rules and had the first tournament. So in 1963, they changed the tournament to the USKA Grand Nationals. 63. 1964, the Long Beach Internationals came around. That was by Mr. Ed Parker, and he had a whole bunch of Kempo stylists, KENPO, and that was the backbone to the event. But he was a guy who worked with all the competitors. Mm-hmm. For example, in 1960, now the first person who won the Grand Championship in 1964 was Mike Stone. The first Karate International was Mike Stone, who I interviewed, by the way. That was the first martial arts superstar. 1965, some dude named Bruce Lee does a demonstration
Yeah, 1-inch punch, right?
at the Karate Internationals. Yes, and that's where he gets a chance to be on a TV show called Kato. So, and then and I believe in 1967, and again, guys, I might be off by some of these dates, but we can fact check. Please fact check me so
Yeah.
that we all get educated.
Right. Put it in the comments.
Yeah, but I believe in 1967 was the first time that Jun Rhee, Grandmaster Rhee, did the Jun Rhee Nationals or whatever he called it. I believe it was called the Jun Rhee Nationals. That might have been 1967. And if not 67, 66, and I apologize, guys. In SniperFight.com, I'm actually going to have these videos in there. SniperFight.com. Let me talk about that for a second. People always ask me about my secret soup techniques, and I have a whole bunch of them. I never realized that I had tricks. Yeah, I really have. I had no idea. I always call them setups. So the trigonometry of how to get behind somebody, like you've seen me done pretty often, how the sparring becomes,
Positions.
how the sparring is really self-defense with mindset. People don't get it. How sometimes they throw a punch at me and I hit and I block their hand and put it under my arm when I'm hitting them, which is dirty boxing.
That's what I was trying to tell somebody recently. They said, "Oh, well, I don't really do the point stuff." I said, "No, this is self-defense as well."
Yeah, but this is the cool part. For the person that says, "I don't really do point," do you do nonstop? Do you do continuity? Okay, we got an event for that. We have a division for that too.
Well, I don't do kicks. Well, the boxers could come too. If you at the school where you're just doing boxing,
Again, the point is that competition drives a lot of people. As a little kid, we'd be outside. It was off the point, off the curb. Sunday, right now, oh my God, the streets were packed with the kids playing physical things. Now they're playing on their thumbs.
slap boxing, Shaw Brothers.
Oh my gosh!
All that.
On Saturdays at 5 o'clock, the streets were empty for about 2 hours while we watched Kung Fu Theater.
About 3 o'clock.
Yeah, from
Yeah.
3 to 5. Sorry, from 3 to 5 it was empty. And then 5 o'clock we went back outside playing karate with each other, you know, or Ringalivia.
It was like observational learning, right?
Well, I don't know. You technical. I'm not that smart, guys.
Like
I,
when you
never,
told
I
me
never,
about your student.
I never got out of 9th grade. So what are you saying?
Like when you talk about your the adult that's gonna start, right? The new student, he saw something that encouraged him.
Yeah.
Like we saw the movies. He went out and now he's gonna go. He probably went home. Started
No,
practicing.
he's been practicing. He said, "Sir, I've been studying you." But this is a guy also that was part of a breaking crew. So he had physicality
Wow.
and competition. So my point is that, you know, it's never too late.
Mm-hmm.
I have a guy who's in his 80s that competes, and there's no reason why he can't compete here. I don't care if there's only 1 or 2 people in that division. It's not about earning money here. It's about stimulating people and making sure that they realize that they're important. They're important. So announcement number 1 is SniperFight.com. It's alive and ready. It's $99. The first month is $99. You get your man patch and you get your T-shirt and your I'm the sniper T-shirt. And the second announcement was the tournament date, September 20th in the Bronx, 40 and above competition. But you don't have to be 40 and above to learn sniper fighting, of course. That's a website for anybody who wants to become better. Because this is the thing: when everyone does the same thing. There's a video that I saw today where they were laughing at this guy because it was a hurdle race and everybody was down and he was up. Like, to me, we didn't go down like this to run. We just bent our knees.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like that. They're saying, he doesn't know how to run because he doesn't have no basics. And the guy won.
Wow.
Yeah, he won.
One anyway.
He won. So to me, you know, the spirit of my mother, I want to be a leader, not a follower. Or I like to be part of a team. Together, everyone achieves miracle. There you go. Announcement number 3. I'm going to compete also, but not at UMAN tournaments. I'm the promoter / the guy who's going to keep everything aligned. But I will compete at NASCAR tournaments, the Crane tournaments, the local tournaments. When I go to those tournaments, anyone who wants to be part of my so-called movement as a team, then we have the Sniper clan, the Sniper Clan. And that's any age. In other words, if you see another Sniper Clan member, that means you can go coach these guys now. But and we're gonna have the same uniform on with Sniper Clan on it. So when we go to those other tournaments, because in the beginning there aren't going to be too many U-Man tournaments. I am going to throw 3 of them this year: September, October, November. We will have September lockdown. October is going to be in Connecticut. As soon as I get that announced, and that's, by the way, September is region number 11. That's the launch of region 11. There's 12 regions out of the country. Region 12 launch is supposed to be October. And region 9 in Florida is in November. So this year, jumping off, the size of the event does not matter to me. I don't care, because once this movement starts going, everybody's going to be like, give me some of your ideas. All right, first of all, the first announcement of the sniperfight.com. What do you think about that?
This is awesome. Sniperfight.com, because, like I said, you got some people that just want to train at home. They want some consultation, or they need some encouragement to move. They've been eating a lot of things, thinking a lot of things, and trying to get their health together. So I think this is the perfect idea, so people can go through the training tutorials
And compete.
Yeah, and then get back in the game.
No
Or
excuses.
achieve something that they never achieved before. They wanted to get to a certain level in karate. Like, I have a friend. He says, "Yo, we work with my son. I want to get him up to speed, and this is excellent for him to come in now, do the training, and let him get to the highest level that he can achieve." So I'm excited about that. What's number 2?
Number 2 was the tournament, September 20th.
Oh,
What do you
yeah.
think about that?
Listen, if you never got excited, whenever you can schedule a tournament, trust me, you're going to get in tip-top shape. You're going to want to do better no matter the weather. And the tournament was always the thing for me. Like, I remember one time, I noticed that I wasn't doing a tournament, and just going to class once or twice was a different excitement from when the tournament was coming up. So I would come home, and before I took my butt upstairs, because I knew I was either going to eat and rest, I said, let me work out before I go upstairs. And that's exactly what I did in my training hallway. You have yours.
Oh, yeah.
What? By the end of that 30 days?
The home dojo is right there in the hallway. Home dojo, fast food dojo right there.
Right.
Somebody wants a private lesson with me. If I'm not in Manhattan that day and I'm in the Bronx, we do it right there.
And 1 hour go by like this, even if it's for 45 minutes. But I was ready for the tournament. Me and my friend, rest in peace, Kason Glover, we was in forms together, and we was going neck and neck, so we had to go at it again. But I came out and I took that competition because I was preparing myself. So this is good to get people prepared.
I don't want people to make excuses that they don't have a training partner. If you're retired, then you have time.
Mm-hmm.
If you have injuries, there's ways to increase the quality of the flexibility on your hips, your knee, your back. I just watched the video that must have been someone watching what I believe is the most important position when you are stretching to make you strong. Most people have a challenge with their lower anatomy, meaning their legs are weak. And because their legs are weak, they lose balance. But that's connected to the hip bone, right? Your leg bone, so on and so forth, right? So whether it's your knee or your hip, people have challenges with that, and then that hits the third part, which is the back. So their knees, their hips, and their back now become what would be the things that are hurt. Doing lay down kicks and the horse stance.
Right. It's like being in water.
And the horse stance, the way we do it, in alignment with your knees going to the side and not forward. Those exercises literally help your posture, eliminate pain from your knee, your hip, and your back, because you're flushing blood towards those body parts. And you can do this while laying in bed, laying on the sofa, and using the chair.
That's right.
And that's what I want you guys to really understand. There's no excuses for you not to be able to train. You can train from home using home apparatuses.
Yeah. And water.
For those who have water, that's all cool. If you're lucky enough to have what would be a swimming pool, what have you, that's all cool. That's wonderful also. but all of us have beds. And the bed itself means that when you lay down, you have to fight for balance.
I do mine's also on the mat on the floor as well, because sometimes I feel a little bit more, just like a little bit more stable when I'm on the floor.
Again, you have options. You can lay in your bed, lay in your sofa. See, with me, the alignment,
Mm-hmm.
I have it already. So if I lay down on the bed and I have my alignment, I don't have to fight for that. However,
It's like a Bosu board, though, right? A little bit.
again, I don't even know what that is. You probably know what it is. I don't know what it is.
For balance, like they
Yeah.
give you that little.
Guys, listen, and let me
Yeah.
explain. There's a lot of gadgets and things that people, that throughout the year they've done, and I purposely don't want to hear it because I'm going to sidetrack me where I sound like a freaking scientist, and I'm not doing shit with it. So I don't care about all that stuff. Plyometrics, yeah. Jumping is the key. If you can freaking jump, then you're doing phenomenal.
Right.
You know, call it whatever the scientific name to it. I just don't want to go get caught up on the theory.
Yeah. It's
You know?
about action.
Yeah, because when I talk to people, sometimes they start, again, I say something and they start, spitting out what would be the technology and so on and so forth. And I'm like, listen, I just know the shit that works, okay? How's that? The shit that worked throughout the years and it still works right now. And yes, I see it. They got the board for this and they got the jump on that and stabilize for this. And it's all cool. It's all cool. But how's that going to help you with fighting?
You still got to spar.
I'd rather lay down. All right, let's talk about sparring for a second. You don't have to spar to get better at sparring. That's my new belief, based on what we've been doing recently. So him and I, we warm up with the left-right drill, the circle drill, hopscotch, the basics of what will be sniper fighting, and even lay down kicks either before or after.
Mm-hmm.
But if we did it before, that means we'll be even more warmed up. And that whole thing takes about 15 minutes, give or take. 20 at maximum. Okay, now, when we start sparring, you keep the quality of the technique, but you just slow down the speed. As long as you're able to keep the quality, that includes when someone punches at you, you may want to move as opposed to block.
Mm-hmm.
But do it at the same speed. If you do that, then that means that literally you're working on your skills without having to worry about injury. Now, when you and I start sparring, we don't even hit each other. We're like, okay, that would have been a punch. And it's not even point. We're doing it like continuous. If you do it, we warm up and move that continuous. I can spar continuous better than I can in point. I can't say that. I did win the United States Championship.
In kickboxing.
No, it's not kickboxing. Well, technically it was kickboxing because it was Waco. So I was a Waco U.S. champion to represent at the World Championships. And I got injured and I didn't go to London. But then the following year, I won it in point, and I took third place at the World Championships officially, even though they had changed the rules. Like, this guy swept me, but didn't follow up, and they gave him a point. I was like, what the hell is that?
No follow-up.
Yeah. You know what? I stand corrected. He didn't sweep me. He didn't sweep me. He attempted to sweep me, and it was weird the way he tried it. Man, I wish I got video of that day. Oh, my God. Yeah, I've never been swept. I've been taken down by both Sam McGee, which I'm going to put a picture. Oh, my God, video. Sam McGee almost killed me. He threw me down, tried to stop my head, missed it twice, but it was like... And then Billy Beeson did that one time, too. But I've never been swept the foot under. But this guy did attempt to sweep. That's why I mentioned him. And I was like...
And they gave him a point for that?
No. What happened was that he swept somebody else just... And they gave him a point for that. I couldn't understand why they give a point for the sweep when I thought it had to be a technique, which is the way we always did it.
Mm-hmm.
Under our rules, you sweep the person and you follow up.
Right.
That's when and follow up to an open target. That's how we know that's the natural technique.
And I seen you do that on somebody.
Yeah, I've done that. I've done sweeps, I've done takedowns, and so on and so forth. But there's a lot of incredible. Billy beats him against Adriel Munoz. Rest in peace. That freaking Adriel gets swept, and Billy scores on him, and then oh my God, these guys were. So at SniperFight.com, I'm gonna be putting a whole bunch of at the members only, of course.
Clips.
Yeah, just education, not just clips and the breakdowns of how and why they did those techniques. You have any questions for me?
Yes. What are the divisions?
The age
Yeah,
brackets.
age brackets for the
Okay,
tournament.
so it's 40 to 49.
Mm-hmm.
This is beginner, intermediate, and advanced.
Okay.
Now, there's going to be a division where there's no one going to be in there for the time being until we develop those divisions. That's okay. But 40, 49, adult men and females when it comes to sparring. Forms, they're going to do it together initially until we get enough. Because to me, a girl, some of the baddest forms competitors I ever saw were women.
Yeah.
And just to make sure the competition level is as high as possible until we get enough females involved in it too, or just for the initial one, we're going to have them together, and it's not to the advantage of any male or female. They're just as good. But if they spar, it'll be separate. Sparring separate. 40, 49. Lightweight, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Then we have black belt, 40 to 49. There we're going to have two weight categories. It'll be 175 and above and 174 below. In other words, a lightweight and what would be a heavyweight. Just to the 40, 49. Because the 50 to 54, that's only a handful of people.
Right.
And if you have different heights, and again, based on necessity, if we need to add different weights to those things too, we will. But for the first event, 50 to 54, 55 to 59, 60 to 64, 65 to 69, 70 to 74, 75 to 79, 80 to 84, 84 to 85, 90, and we have it all the way to 100. Are they going to be any one of those divisions? Not initially, but we have them there for the people.
Awesome.
Now, when we do forms, that is going to be broken down into
Oh,
Japanese,
yeah. I have to ask that question.
Japanese, Korean,
Mm-hmm. Kung Fu.
Chinese,
Chinese.
and open. See, a lot of the people do forms,
It's like
and
creative-
they got made up forms.
creative kata.
And you might think that your style has a traditional form. For example, I got my style called Fontaines martial arts. When we do forms, it can't be it will be in the future. Maybe we'll do it. You know what? Let me add it. American division. See, American division is the people who made up their own style or created their own style.
Like a hybrid.
Yeah. Because when people, for example, the Tai Chi that you guys do, that thing is not no Tai Chi in the sense of what Tai Chi is. That's slow motion Tai Chi. That would be an American style created by an American, because now you have the Chinese flavor to it combined. But at least you have a legitimate division they can compete in.
Yeah.
It's not the Chinese division. Even though Tai Chi, the word, you might be thinking Chinese.
Yeah.
But no, that's not,
Right.
not really.
A lot of other elements in there.
It's it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's an American eclectic style. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what sport karate really is. So instead of calling it sport karate, so we seem like the old player hated. 'Cause I was calling it real sport karate years ago. We're gonna call it sniper, fighting in forms. Sniper means sharp, precise, and on point. Weapons are included, and we will have what you consider hostile weapons. We mean the Japanese and Korean.
Staff.
Right, that
Sword.
hostile weapons,
Sharp.
and then we're gonna have soft style weapons, which is Chinese styles.
Cross-sectional staff. And
Yeah,
all that.
yeah, and then we're gonna have an open there too. We're gonna have an open. The open, like in open forms, I didn't go by open forms. That's where you can put music. You can do music open forms. Yeah,
Right.
in other words, open is creative. So these are the rules of years ago. So it's Japanese, I should say, it's Japanese, it's Korean, it's Chinese, American, and open. Those 5 divisions for forms.
No push hands, right? That's more the No.
Well, they never had a tournament with them. We're still talking about sport karate. That's a legitimate question.
That was more the kung fu tournament.
Yeah. So whether it was Sanda or anything that they did, I am not an authority in that area. But no, we're not doing that. What we're doing is, it's 1985. You went to a tournament and you seen these people do point karate, and their techniques were phenomenal. They did forms and they were great. They did weapons, it was great. So the thing I'm adding to it is that there will be a continuous contact division.
Right.
There will be continuous contact in those age brackets.
And that'll be good for the guys who are into the boxing.
The people who used to be kickboxers or started training in the school where they go, we don't do point, cool. You know, in other words, Masuko now can compete.
Yeah, 52 blocks.
Yeah. Now they don't have, all those guys. You know, if it works, it works. Now, I would suggest they know how to throw a kick or two. I would suggest that because I'm sorry, we're doing 52 blocks, which is kind of cool, no question about it. But that's only, you're gonna get kicked. Now, maybe you learn how to block those kicks. Bottom line is that 52 or anybody will benefit from what we'll be having multiple attacks towards them.
Hello.
It's a way to challenge yourself, but also be acknowledged for what you're doing.
That's right.
Any other questions?
Let me see. Sniperfighting.com.
The Sniper Fight.
Fight.
Sniper Fight is singular. Sniperfight.com.
And we'll share that in the link as well. If you
Yeah,
didn't get to
absolutely.
it. We got the dates. What I know was another question I had to ask you. Student, we got the date September, the different regions.
Yeah, September 20th is the first tournament in the Boogie Down Bronx at L, the letter L pack.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
And that's a Saturday. However, Sunday to be challenging, especially at LPAC, because there's a church.
Right.
And even though Saturday they have activities too, but we'll figure it out. You know, we'll figure it out. You know, but I'm excited. Those of you who want to compete with me on the team, not a sponsored team, but just as a collective, where if you go to a tournament, you wear your sniper shirt, I'm a sniper, then you see other snipers, we can get together and coach each other, work out with each other. In addition to that, if we know we're going to go to a tournament, we can register as a team, and I believe that can help us financially get a discount or what have you. But those are the things that to look forward. Again, you join Sniperfight.com, and you're going to get your patch. You can get your official T-shirt. I'm a sniper. We're going to do a sniper rec suit.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Yeah, we're going to do a rec suit like that. We all in our rec suits, only because yes, the original rec suits. I do have enough where we can fit quite a few people, and if you need some for children, we have some too. So the question is, why 40 and above? Because there are enough tournaments for people that are in the other ages. Yes, they have the 40 and above divisions at big tournaments, but they treat us like old news. And maybe we are old news to them, because when I was a teenager at 59, man, you're too old already, so I get it. But now it's the other way around. I'm like, are you kidding me? I've beaten teenagers. I've beaten people 40 years younger than me at tournaments in less than 5 years ago, in recent years.
And they do that in the military sometimes too. At a certain age limit, they don't allow you to serve anymore.
Man, everything they kick us to the curb. So all I'm saying is that, we could be proficient in our skill set, regardless of age, and adding competition just means that it makes it a little more fun. And being recognized for things that you actually did instead of Hall of Fame that you never did shit, man. It drives me crazy. You can do something now. You can become a pioneer. You can become a pioneer. This is pioneers and legends. You can become a pioneer. If you compete for 5 years and you're winning, man, you're a pioneer. Plus the circus just started. You're a pioneer. But if you do that for 10 years and win,
Especially
you've earned yourself to be a legend. Now, people say, what? Yeah. No disrespect intended, but Chuck Norris didn't compete for 20 years. He competed, from what I believe, at the earliest was 1965 maybe. He didn't compete in 75. At that point, he's making movies. His students might have competed more, but the one that competed the longest, trying to think, Superfoot maybe? No, he competed into the 80s from maybe, I'm not even sure if he would compete in the 60s.
How about Benny? How long was he competing?
Again, Benny the Jet Akitas, let's just say that he competed in the late 60s. Let's say, again, I'm not even sure. Let's say he competed from 69. So let's say 69, 79. So from 69 to 79, that's 10 years. From 79 to 89, maybe that was 20 years. Pretty much that ends it. I mean, I don't know unless I'm wrong in terms of competition. Same thing with someone like Jeff Smith, maybe in the 60s to the early 80s. So maybe he. But then again, I don't even know if he was doing the 60s too. I don't see videotapes. He might have been training, but not being at the high level of competition. In other words, Mike Stone didn't even fight for 2 years. He won 100 and something. I don't think he fought. If he did fight for 2 years, complete. Let's just say all of them did about between 5 and 10 years. And they are legitimate legends, no question. And they are legitimate, some of them pioneers. So using that criteria, a pioneer, someone's been competing consistent and winning, at least 5 years. Mm-hmm. And by the time that they could do that for 10 years, a whole decade, they're a legend, at least for that decade. So that's my belief. I could be wrong, but that's the way I have to put it, because I know that you can do better. And I know that if you had a platform, how about this? It's time. It's time. Now I don't have a bunch of children that I have to change diapers for. Life is not in the way in the same capacity. I'm closer for them to my girlfriend to change my diapers. Only joking, I'm joking. What I'm saying is that this is happening with or without you. I'd rather have it with you, because us, one, we are all important. If you don't have any questions, we're going to wind it down. But I must say that...
Thanks for your comments.
Yeah, those of you who are involved in whatever capacity, yes, we will need judges, but I think we're going to make a criteria where the judges themselves must be competitors. Why would the judges be competitors? Because we're all part of the same thing. Listen to this and listen closely. You and I are sparring. You score on me. The judges didn't see. I say stop time. I bow, maybe salute, whatever you do, and I acknowledge. No, he got me. What does the crowd say? Do now.
Wow. Honor.
Yeah, because I'm not going to make believe this whole thing that I saw a lot of my friends get kicked in the head and go, no, it's in my shoulder. Come on, enough of that nonsense. It's bad enough that we were the guys doing point karate, but now that becomes pointless in my belief. The frustration of not being able to do a regular karate technique at a tournament, and you extend your glove and you lock your elbow and you just throw your body forward. That is not a punch. A punch has a beginning, a middle, and an end. A beginning, a middle, and an end. Yeah. So educating people on the quality of the technique is something that we might have to do, but most of the guys who don't compete already have it. You do not have to compete with a headgear. That's optional. Because the traditional guys, by the way, if you fight with those little gloves, you can do point with us too. In other words, I will allow the people who fight the WKF, because those gloves are padded. Remember I spoke with them? Yeah. They pad, actually, they're more padded than the other one. If you feel comfortable fighting with those, you can fight with them. No problem. If you do the old school, what would be open hand macho type gloves or century, you can use those too. Yes, for the non-stop, meaning for the point matches, absolutely. But when it comes to the continuous contact, we have gloves that will be official gloves, and because sometimes boxing gloves are not really the best gloves for it. So we will at some point systematize it and come up with what would be, not systematize, I meant make it official. Use official gloves. The headgear is optional, even in the continuous contact. Even in the continuous contact. We might have some former kickboxers. Only thing you guys are not allowed, you don't knock them out. No, don't knock them out. We're not, it's not that, but it is non-stop continuous contact. And we'll figure out, stay tuned for what would be the additional rules and the timing and everything else. Anything else, sir?
That'll be it. And enjoy the rest of your day.
Well, I'm Grandmaster Jerry Fastby Fontanez. This is Master Tyrone Randolph, or Master Ty, as we call him. And all we're doing is talking about the Unified Martial Arts Network, a.k.a. U-Man. It's spelled U-Man, but it's pronounced Y-O-U-Man, because we need you, man, and women to make this thing happen. It's not about me, it's about us. All of us. Us one. And it's right in the patch. Us one. We want honor and respect, and we want to create pioneers and legends while doing fighting in forms and weapons. Yes, is the form, and fighting continuous. Yes, is also fighting. And I'm excited.
As well.
September 20th, stay tuned for the next
September
event.
20th.
And if for some reason you have a location that you want to do a joint venture in another region, region 6 is Texas, region 7 is Chicago area, region 1 is Northern California, and Seattle and Washington, I should say, Seattle and Oregon, region 2 is California, the rest of it. So the Karate Illustrated regions from yesteryear is what we're using. And if you was rated in Karate Illustrated, drum roll, you do not have to compete. You don't have to pay to compete. We'll put you in the division because you earned it. How do you prove it? Bring the Karate Illustrated and show where you got rated. On that note, we're good. AB,
See ya.
thank you very much.
God bless.